take them in. From everything that I've heard, if you like watching the gruelingness of a 2 mile and just how much effort they have to put in a 2 mile, one of the track meets we host, then you'll love coming out and seeing them compete in a cross country meet. And like you said, Michael, a lot of great young athletes, there with Cabot and Emily and Hannah being underclassmen. And then, of course, Red Bailey's been chomping at the bit there to run some extra miles. Not very many people do, but she's one of them, and she's going to get her chance this senior year.
All right, just a couple things. Hi to my Aunt Deb, and a happy birthday to Ryan's dad, my Uncle Tom. So
happy birthday, Dad. Enjoy it. Hopefully you're listening to Panther victory tonight on 107.5 The Lake.
And hi, Kaylor, as well. Let's get to the football game. Possibly the football game of the night. Certainly the best football game, in my opinion, in the conference. And just a FYI, if you want to watch on YouTube, it's now live on YouTube. Probably not going to get a whole lot since we had to go late there. But let's first talk about Centralia. Centralia comes in. Chris Dewar had them as one of his favorites in the conference. A lot of senior leadership on that team. 18 seniors for Centralia compared to 7 for Monroe City. And Centralia is going to go by their quarterback, John Durant. He is the best returning quarterback in this conference. He's the only one quarterback that got any kind of all-conference mention last year that is returning. I think the only other returning starters in the conference are the quarterback at Brookfield and the quarterback at Highland. And Durant is the normal dual-threat quarterback, 900-plus yards in the air, 900 yards on the ground. I think he had 18 touchdowns last year and 3 starters on the offensive line. And, they really like the weapons they have around Durant. I think we probably didn't see Durant's best game last year, which, probably a credit to our defense as well. But he's got a lot of talent, and the Centralia coaching staff, as been seen or heard in other articles, really like the speed of their skill guys. So it'll be a different test for Monroe City. They run a version of the wing T that's quite a bit different than Monroe City's. They essentially run the wing T, but out of the shotgun pistol set. Their tailback is going to be a Hunter kid, and they got a Friedel who the Hunter kid had about 200 yards rushing last year. Pretty good size, speed guy. He was on their 4x1, 4x2 team as well as Friedel. Then they have 2 essentially wing backs. One, Liam Hill, more of a receiver. Grafton Luttrell was a power back for him last year, big kid. And then really they have a tight end, Trevor Bodine, who I don't remember going out. He didn't catch a pass last year, more of a blocking tight end. And then they'll have a split guy, which we saw. Nick Wheaton was the guy that for them last year, first team all conference both ways. That was the offensive threat for them. And he was kind of that role for the Centralia team last year. I think you're going to see a different type of look from them this year. They really think they can throw the ball better, and they certainly like the ability to run the ball.
Yeah, so when you look at the offenses tonight, or if you're listening on the radio, we'll try to describe it as best we can. So Monroe City is going to be under center. They're typically going to have a tight and a split, and then 2 wings and a running back. Centralia, as Michael said, virtually runs that same offense except for that second wing a lot of times will be in the slot as a receiver as opposed to a wing back. And, of course, they're going to be in the shotgun, either pistol set. When we say pistol, that means the running back stands behind the quarterback in the shotgun.
And it's a short shotgun.
Yeah,
so
like 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah. And then, they will show some, quarterback, one back where the running back is right next to him, where more of a spread look. But typically they run out of the pistol formation.
And I think with like you mentioned, I don't think we saw Durant's best game, but, Max Hayes and Jonathan Saxbury and those guys were in that backfield the whole night and really just disrupted everything they have. So I really think, and we'll talk more about this on the radio when we talk our keys to the game, but Michael kind of alluded to it earlier. You've got a back 7 in Monroe City that is, for all intents and purposes, 7 new starters. I mean, Danny Dennison, a lot of experience. Antoine Battle, a lot of experience. But you lose KKO, you lose Lance Williams, you lose Blake Hayes, you lose Zach Osborne,
Damian Holland, Nolan Pennywell, Hunter Lilly.
I mean, it's
Gatlin Bixel.
It's just a huge, it's going to be a huge test. Now, tremendous athletes replacing those guys. And I think the word of the day for Centralia in the talk that we hear and every article that we've seen and so forth is fast, is speed. And last year, I think it was no doubt who the fastest team was on that field, and that was Monroe City. This year, Centralia is hoping. Now, big factor here, all of a sudden we have a rain game.
And it's from the reports we've got, it has rained all day long in Centralia. So it is going to be a different type of game, and this is something we've talked about last year. We've talked about it before, there was all grass fields everywhere. Now we have 2 grass fields here in, what we mentioned earlier in the broadcast here, and then against West Hancock. And just so happens this game talking about extreme amounts of rain. So, hard to say game 1 who it's going to benefit, right, but, remains to be seen. So
couple questions. Remember, Michael, we want your interaction. Who? Top newcomer, first varsity experience or very limited varsity experience going into this year. Doesn't matter, cross country, softball, football, who you most looking forward to watching and developing over the course of the season. We'll give you ours shortly. And then give us some predictions for tonight's Centralia Monroe game or any other area games. We'll be watching here and we'll read your comments and as we go through.
All right. And quickly, Centralia defensively, not real big. That speed factor, they're going to rely on a lot on their defensive end. They're kind of led by Grafton Luttrell, who I mentioned is a wingback, kind of running back, power guy. He's a returning linebacker, the returning leading tackler, 77 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, a couple picks. Their most decorated defensive player, Trevor Bodine, who is listed as a defensive end, pretty good size. He had 7 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. But a couple of people I want to watch because just from last year, what I liked on tape last year, Alex Aarons, an outside linebacker, defensive end, good speed. Last year, 7.5 tackles for loss. And then at corner, Liam Hill's got good speed, good size, 6'3", a Logan Bulick type of athlete for them. And I thought he was maybe their best corner guy, even over Nick Wheaton last year. So we'll see what we see there. And then the one other thing, which maybe this weather affects, Centralia does come in with the best special teams unit in the conference. Luke Hunter, far and away the best kicker in the conference. And then Jake Friedel, who averaged like 45 yards per punt last year. So, the special teams advantage probably going to go to them there. Logan Bulick showed some things on the punting side. Don't know about returning. We lost, basically our 3-year return men in Blake Hayes and Zach Osborne. Expect Aaron Plum probably going to get back there, and who knows, Joshua Talton, Antoine Battle, a lot of different options there.
Yeah, and defensively, and again, reading through the preseason and Coach Newstead's comments, and they're really they're not a read and react defense. They want to attack. They want to use that speed, so they're going to line up. They're going to be a lot of movement. They're going to blitz a lot. They want to utilize that speed, and I think last year, what really hurt them was the fact that the blitzes were neglected because our offensive line was so good and so dominant up front that it didn't matter. We were already 4 yards into the defensive backfield before they even knew it was hitting them. With his, some key cogs missing on the offensive line and still trying to figure out who that offensive line is for Monroe City. Blitzes may be a bigger factor tonight against the Monroe City offense, but sometimes against a wing T, you can't blitz because then you're just playing guesswork.
Right. And Monroe City, 300-plus yards last year in that win against Centralia.
Felt like 5,000, honestly.
And let's go ahead and talk about that because the leading rusher, shockingly, in that game was Keenan Badsell, 107 yards in that game. When you look at the Monroe City offense, the first look clearly is going to be Keenan Badsell. He's a returning All-Stater, 1,500-plus yards last year, 18 touchdowns. He is I was watching college football last night, and they have the, freaks of the year or whatever. If there is a freak in this area, it has to be Keenan Batzel, has to be on that list. He's 205 pounds, looks just like a specimen. He's got, all-state level speed at 205 pounds as a high schooler. I mean, he is a special type of talent.
If you happen to have made it to a track meet last spring, of course, football, you would have seen him in pads. But if you would have seen him in track, I mean, it is just and the young man works all the time. He beat, talking to Coach Kirby, he would beat Coach Kirby to school, and Coach Kirby gets to school early. So is Coach Idris. He would beat him to school. He would work out. He worked at the school. Lunch break, catch another workout, and then typically after work would catch another workout. And typically he's doing it in a hoodie, a Dallas Cowboy hoodie,
yep.
To get the extra sweat going. And just, when your best player is also your hardest worker, I've always found that to equal success.
Mm-hmm.
And, kids follow that your underclassmen saw that all summer, your freshmen, your sophomores, and your juniors. And he just goes about his business in the right way, and he's just a specimen. And he's just, like I said, he could line up at any running back position that we have or any offense has and be successful.
Yeah. And then, looking outside of Batzel here, one of the question marks for Monroe City, outside of Batzel, you lose Blake Hayes, your quarterback. You lose Zach Osborne, one of my favorite guys I've ever watched play Monroe City, all-stater there. You lose your top receiver, Kalen Kendrick O'Brien. You lose Gage Bottoms, who was a multiple-year starter. And then you lose Jonathan Saxberry and Jaden Underhill on the line. So outside of Batzel, you do have those two solid guys on the line, Max Hayes and Danny Dennison, that you're going to rely on. They're all conference-level players. Max all-state on defense. It's going to be, what do we see from Aaron Plum, Antoine Battle, and then that outside look of Bulig, Logan Bulig, Dalton McAfee, and Joshua Talton. You got athletes there. It's just going to be, what do we see? I mean, we saw Aaron Plum and Antoine in the backfield quite a bit last year, with a more featured role. We'll have to see kind of what we expect there.
Yeah, it's the offense, the bread and butter is going to be running the football. It's no question. It's racked up yards after yards after yards. Coach Kirby did open up the jamboree in a shotgun look and threw the ball with Kyle Hayes. Of course, weather is a factor again tonight. Wet football suck to throw, especially if you're like Kyle and I, and we're kind of vertically challenged. So our hands are tough to get around the wet football, but. Will we open it up a little bit more and see what Kyle has to offer? Kyle's going to be more of the thrower as opposed to his brother Blake. Blake's the all-state kid running track at Mizzou, so obviously blazing fast. So it's just going to be interesting to see what the offense looks like tonight. The bread and butter. Like we talked about the formation, and I think we're going to see multiple guys on the line too. You don't oftentimes see a lot of, your skills guys will come in and come out, but I do think that the coaches are going to see who that next set of guard and tackles are tonight. So look for multiple guys on that line, Connor Paff, Cecil Masterson, Bo Patterson. You mentioned him earlier. Blaine Potter's a stalwart now, and hopefully he's back tonight, we think. And, just seeing a different mix. Landon Shin could be in that mix. Mm-hmm. And, just seeing who that key five will be moving forward.
Right. Before we get to the defense, about the hands, I mean, three good athletes, Logan Buehler, Dalton McAfee, Joshua Talton, all got good hands, good athletes,
That's
just from raw.
The word we heard from 7-on-7 this summer was Dalton McAfee was making some phenomenal catches. With Josh and Logan as prolific as they are at basketball, you have to be able to catch a ball. Now, obviously, oblong as opposed to round, but that motion of constantly catching a ball only bodes well for them. So I think that I don't think drops will be an issue for any of our skills guys.
Right. And then looking at the defense, Keenan Batzel's your offense look. When you look at defense from Monroe City, it's Max Hayes, 2 times All-State, another specimen, 230 35 pounds, I think now.
Yep.
Super athletic. He was just unbelievable at the Jamboree.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was like a man. It looked like he was playing against 8th graders at the Jamboree. Just, I mean, discarding linemen, just raising havoc. And, you know what you're getting from him, but it's going to be what else on the defensive front. You're going to see Cameron Meyer, Cecil Madison, Bo Patterson, Dalton McAfee. I'll go ahead. We talked about who you're most intrigued to see. Dalton McAfee for me is that guy. And I think defensively is even more exciting than offense, because when you look at Monroe City, when you get in your offensive set, you have to know where Max Hayes is. And you have to guess that every coach we see is going to try to game plan and run the ball away from Max. And that's going to be Bo Patterson, Dalton McAfee's side. And it's going to be, one huge key to Monroe City's success tonight and going forward is whether they can solidify that edge opposite Max.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, Centralia obviously has the Jamboree film. Whether we shared it on Huddle or whether they were there is irrelevant. But they saw the same thing we saw. You can't. He just dominated. He just completely dominated. And that goes back to our question. We've only got a little bit of feedback so far, so we only got a few minutes left. Who's your top newcomer? Softball, football, cross country. Who are you most excited to see in varsity action this year for the Panthers? Michael says Dalton McAfee. I'll give mine in a minute. Defensively, here's another person that I thought really came to shine late in the year, Danny Dennison. He really created havoc from that linebacker position. Really excited. He's not a newcomer, but I'm really excited to see him take even another leap at that linebacker position.
And I think the big key for him, he saw some time on the line. Knowing this year, middle linebacker is going to be his spot, I think is going to be crucial. And he's another kid that's worked out. He's gotten quite a bit bigger, this year, as we've seen him a couple times. I think he is going to be a big time player on that middle linebacker. You also have Antoine Battle's going to play some outside backer too. And then, the secondary, old secondary guy here, that's what I'm going to be looking at quite a bit. You got some athletes, Aaron Plum, Joshua Tolton, Logan Buehler, probably going to be your starters there. Different types of skill sets. Logan, the big size, whether or not, it's going to be how quick is he side to side as a defensive back. Joshua Tolton, he showed his ball skills at the Jamboree, a couple picks. And Aaron Plum, tons of speed, but we'll see, it's a whole lot different playing as a backup against JV guys. Now you're playing against, real life receivers. So we'll see. Some names are coming in. Emily Williams, of course, on cross country. I know she got a lot of 5K running in this year.
That kind of a homer pick from my mom, but still Emily's awesome. She's done great, done a lot of running.
The Hayes kids and Shin on the line. The lines are going to be very crucial.
Jay Williams says Bo Patterson.
Bo Patterson, again, another guy that got some limited time, but he's going to be starting both ways. So he's going to need to have a big year. And then Brad says Joshua Tolton. I think
Is that our guy, CE, just joined us? What's up, CE, from Olney College? Thanks for joining us, man. Good luck this year. We're rooting for you, buddy. And, hopefully we can make a road trip one of these weekends in the winter and catch you in action. So,
Monroe City will clearly have it, their favorite community college over there in Illinois. So
I'm going to give mine, my top newcomers. I'm going to give one in football, and I'm going to give one in each sport, softball and cross country, and give you the opportunity too, Michael. So I'm going to go with one that every time he touched the ball last year, it seemed to be electric, 20-plus yards. We just mentioned him. He's going to play both ways. Some very capable leadership abilities in this young man. I'm excited to see what Aaron Plum does now that he kind of comes out of the shadow of Zach Osborne. Similar body types, similar athleticism. Let's see what he does in a shining role here, both offensively and defensively. Flipping over to cross country, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say two. I'm going to say Bailey, just because she's been dying to do this, and I'm going to say Emily Williams. because she's my cousin. I have to, but no, she's really, really good at running.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be fun to watch her progress. Softball wise, I'm going to go with, now we got the returners. You got Lolo, you've got Bailey Hayes, you've got Danielle Fonner, you got Riley Quinn, you've got Moss, young Mossy, old, a lot of return. I'm going to go with Emily Friday. The freshman is probably going to be starting some games and making some noise for the next 4 years, much like the Bailey Hayeses, the Riley Quinns, the Lolos of the world have done. So those are my picks.
All right, my picks. And after this, we'll get to Brad's. We'll kind of wrap up the CCC slate and get to the rankings. But football, I kind of mentioned Dalton McAfee. Offensively and defensively, I mean, everybody's seen him, been a part of the basketball program, varsity level for multiple years. On the football field, we kept hearing how good he was in the 7-on-7. And, he looked good offensively, but defensively is where I'm really intrigued at that outside linebacker spot with this athleticism, what we will see from him there. Softball, that's a good one. Madeline Myers is someone that really intrigues me. She played JV last year and hit a couple home runs in JV. And I know I was out there most Tuesday nights at Lions Club when the high school played there. I know she hit a home run, fighting for an outside spot. But, anytime you got power to knock the ball out of the ballpark, that can be a huge asset, whether it's starting off the bench. So that's someone that kind of intrigues me. And then on the cross country, Emily Williams, for sure. Cabot Harlan, a freshman that, he's part of that great freshman, now sophomore class of just athletes galore. So I'm kind of intrigued on the boys' side to see what he can do. Let's just kind of, as we start to wrap up, the other CCC games of the night: Brookfield at Palmyra, South Shelby at Bowling Green, Clark County at Highland, and Macon at Kirksville, which tough game for Macon. Kirksville, now Class 4, I think the smallest school in Class 4. And, I've looked at a couple things there, and I think Kirksville maybe is the favorite there. Macon returning a lot, and I think this is going to be a really intriguing year for Macon. I mean, they have probably the best offensive lineman in the conference. They have 2 good receivers and a good running back, but losing a whole lot, especially one of the best players in the conference, Nash Waller. So we'll see, again, these next few weeks, we're going to kind of see where we are, because this is out of, the last few years, this might be the year where no one really knows how this CCC is going to go. Last year, everyone pretty well knew there's going to be 4 good teams in the CCC, and they were all going to battle. We kind of think that this year, but everybody, there's just so much senior talent that graduated. It's just going to be a whole totally different thing. So
DH in softball is actually called the designated player. They can hit for anybody. So to answer that question,
Brad says
P-Town is at Brookfield tonight. So grass game for Brookfield at Brookfield. Macon at Kirksville is going to be a turf game, and Clark County at Highland will be a turf game. So weather for most of the games won't matter. South Shelby at Bowling Green will be a grass game too. That's kind of an interesting matchup. Probably, out of those 4 games, you're probably looking at 2 of the 4 being pick'em games: South Shelby and Bowling Green, and Macon at Kirksville, meaning they could go either way. And then I think probably Clark County and Palmyra are your prohibitive favorites in the other ones.
All right, we will wrap this up as we got to start getting our way to Centralia with one of the favorite segments of the 2Dub show, the Mayor of Huntington's Top 10. And I'll get, last year we started late, which part of the reason we started is because he did not like how the media poll was. Pretty similar this year. The same top 3 as the media, as he goes Lutheran North, who is the probably prohibitive favorite at number 1. But they have, something to watch out for Lutheran North. Again, out of our area, they have some issues with a couple kids that may not be able to play due to some move and some districting things. It was a big article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch about it. So, kind of intriguing there. Cardinal Ritter, another St. Louis school, at number 2. Maryville, 3A power, falls down to Class 2 at number 3. Brad has the the longtime Class 2 favorites, Lamar. Finally got their first losses last year. They're at number 4, Lathrop at 5, Clark County at 6, Ava at 7, Centralia at 8, Monroe City at 9, and then Lawson at 10. So that is the mayor of Huntington, Brad Williams's power rankings, and we will see kind of how those fall out throughout the year. Again, thank you to Quinn Farm Supply for sponsoring the show. Thank you for all that joined us. I know it's an early, kind of a weird time to do this. Just had to do it with Centralia not having Wi-Fi. We'll be back next week at 6 o'clock for the 2 Dubs show from Monroe City High School as we take on Brookfield.
And 107.5 The Lake at 6:40 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff. Michael and I will be on the radio every Friday night. If you don't have a FM radio anymore, which you may not, get on your phone, get on your tablet, get on your computer, stream it at kwbz.com or the TuneIn app.
kwbzfm.com or the TuneIn app. So
6:40 pregame.
We will see you at 6:40. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, man, I didn't get to go.
All right, boys, let's load.